voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
You know, there's some days when I wake up, John, and I think to myself, all I want to do today is make one person happy. And you know what I just did?
You made me happy, John Combest, because you're on the right side of the grass. Congratulations, Brad.
No, I made Camellia Peterson happy because I played
Who's that?
You know who that is, because I played the Barbershop Boys intro. That is John Combest. I am Brad Hildebrand. John is this super right-wing Republican. I am an American. Yes, I'm an American. As opposed to Mark Cox, who says if you're an independent, you're a coward or something like that. I'm not an independent. I'm an American. And what we do every day, we put this show together. We get on the radio and we talk. And matter of fact, we talk all sorts of different things. But on Friday, we have a special feature because who do we bring in on Friday, John? Who do we bring in?
The Polka Boys.
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
Exactamundo, Mr. Combest. Every single day of his life, he puts together this incredible list of all the important things you should know about going on in the state of Missouri. Nothing fancy. A matter of fact, what is that version of the web you use for the johncombest.com site?
0.0.
Sometimes there's dozens of things on there. I mean, sometimes literally 40, 50, 60 things on there. Links that you click on and it takes you where you need to go. But on Fridays, we have a special thing. We bring in the Polka Boys and we also bring in this fine gentleman. What's your name again, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what's your job?
We're on our way to the number one.
And what else do you do?
And here they are.
And what else do you call? What else do you say?
Now on with the countdown.
And then what do we do?
In third place.
Brad, have you ever had anyone in your life who was diabetic?
Yes, unfortunately, I have several people in my life.
Which direct family member of yours was diabetic?
My ex-wife. Matter of fact, I have several people in my family who are diabetic, which is very sad.
Well, you are then quite familiar with. First of all, I think as a communicator, I'm supposed to begin, as I always did in my corporate career, with an empathy statement. Brad, I'm so sorry that you have people in your life that are diabetic. Now that the artifice is out of the way, I'm sure, let's get to the important stuff, which is money. I'm sure that insulin you found was pretty expensive, wasn't it?
I don't really know. I've never paid for it, to tell you the truth. I don't, and I hate to say that, but I just have never bought it myself.
Oh, see, now I'm glad you mentioned that, Brad, because there's a lot of people that haven't actually technically paid for insulin directly before because it's uncovered by insurance. And that's the crux of story number 3 today. That's brought to us by Monica Obranovic from the Post-Dispatch. There's other stories about this today, too. I linked to a story from Columbia about this. But let's focus on the Post-Dispatch story for a specific reason. Because the Post-Dispatch story marries Catherine Hanaway with the Rockwood School District. I'll read you the intro from Monica. Rockwood School District is suing some of the nation's largest pharmaceutical companies and insulin manufacturers, alleging an, quote, insulin pricing scheme, end of quote, has cost the district millions. In filing its nearly 300-page complaint in a New Jersey federal court, the district joined hundreds of other employers, including the state of Missouri, in accusing Derg manufacturers. Monica has a misspelling in here. I didn't point it out because Lord knows I'm not a jerk about typos. Right, Brad?
Right. You never do that.
and accusing drug manufacturers and third-party middlemen of inflating the price of insulin even as the cost of production declined. Now hold on to your hat. Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway filed suit in St. Louis County on Tuesday. Here's what Catherine says. At a time when healthcare costs continue to soar, we are taking a stand against insulin price manipulation and fraud. So as I understand it, what happens here, and there's groups called pharmaceutical benefit managers and then prescription benefit managers. I'm guessing they're all the same. I'm guessing we could put them in the same bucket, but I could be wrong. Here's how Monica describes it. The companies, which are identified in the suits as CVS, Express Scripts, and others, these are familiar names to St. Louisans, they create lists called formularies that determine which drugs health insurance plans cover and which ones consumers pay out of pocket. So as the lawsuit alleges, some of the drug manufacturers are able to cut a deal, so to speak, to get preferred status. And then that way, they're at the top of the list, in other words. In other words, you could do some things to convince others to be at the top of a list so that you would actually get paid more than you would if you were not at the top of the list. So Monica does a good job. I probably just did a poor job describing that, Brad. But Monica does a good job describing it in this story. And Catherine claims, Hanaway claims, manufacturers charged up to $400 for the same drugs that were sold for $5 in other countries. And rather than pass those discounts on to consumers, the PBMs, the benefit managers, use the rebates to boost their profits. I mean, that is what companies do, right? So there's been a lot of chatter. There always seems to be a lot of chatter about whether these PBMs are making too much money, whether they're a good thing, whether they're a bad thing. As a brief aside, Brad, as a guy that reads a lot of op-eds, I read a lot of op-eds in publications and newspapers and online sources where the op-eds are clearly written by either corporations that hate or love PBMs. So what you do in the state of Missouri is you get some mushmouth milquetoast simp to put his or her name on an op-ed. And then you say, oh, look, it's written by a member of the community. They're a committee person in St. Charles County. We must listen to them. But you just have the industry write the op-ed for them, and then you have some moron sign up for it. You might even toss them like an Amazon $50 gift card or something to put their name on it. But I digress. The point is, Brad, you know, an expert on this would be a woman that we once had on the show that you glazed, to use a Gen Alpha term. Jamie Corley works for a group that's a PBM group now. She would probably be able to explain this, of course, way better than I could. But it appears as though groups like the Rockwood School District, the state of Missouri, and others are blaming the high cost of healthcare on PBMs.
You know, I don't think that's the whole problem. We've talked about this before. I have a very simplistic thing to this. What should happen is, and I'll give you a perfect example, okay? Hi, I'm Dr. Joe Smith. Yes, I do appendectomies. You know what? I do the best appendectomies in town, and they're only $19.95. Yes, all my other doctors out there are charging $23 and $24 and $3,000, but my appendectomies are only $19.95. That's right. Call my office right now, 1-800-APPENDECTOMY, and get your appendectomy for only $19.95. Get what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, I think so. In other words, I was just listening to a show yesterday, and I believe it was Ryan Haight's show. I believe so. The Reckoning on 93.3. And Ryan was talking about the fact that these places should just have a very clear list of what the things cost.
Yes,
so let's get back to the story pretty quickly, Brad, which is, I guess, Rockwood. And Rockwood says, it's important to note what Rockwood says, which is like they're doing a duty for their taxpayers. They believe it's in the interest of their taxpayers. But the woman who's a spokeswoman for Rockwood is essentially saying, look, as part of what we're doing to be good stewards of taxpayer money, we have to essentially fight on every front we can to get every dollar back. And these companies have been doing our employees a disservice by screwing us out of this money.
John, can I make another comment here?
Please do.
Rather than
And Brad, are you stuffing your face with a little Debbie while we're discussing fat people, diabetes, and insulin?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead. And I wonder why people in your family have diabetes.
Rather than sue drug manufacturers, why don't the school districts pay attention to teaching the kids important stuff?
Like how to discern what a library book is obscene or not? Is that what you mean, Brad? Or maybe just going out and putting some yard signs up for Jane Pushkar? Is that what you're suggesting?
Why is the Rockwood School District involved in this? I mean, come on.
Because Brad, here, let me argue with you about this. If I'm Rockwood and I feel like employees have been coming to me all the time, teachers are coming to me, and by the way, teachers are generally meek and don't complain about everything. If teachers are coming to me complaining about the high cost of their health insurance and how they're paying twice today what they were 3 or 4 years ago, I have to give them something. And I have to say, you're right. So who's the bad guy, Brad? Do you say, I don't know, the health insurance industry, the economy? No, you say, hey, you know who's doing us wrong? Those pharmacy benefit managers. And if just wait a little bit longer, we're going to have something to say about this. We might even file suit against them. So Rockwood's doing the right thing, Brad. And if I lived in the Rockwood district, I would be happy that my district was going after these PBMs and these big pharma companies.
John, you know what I have to say about that?
I don't know. Why don't you shove another little Debbie in your mouth and pound it down with a grape soda?
Here's what I have.
Why don't you go to Schnucks and refuel yourself, Brad?
Here's what I have to say about it.
Kabuki! Kabuki! Kabuki!
That's what I have to say about it, okay?
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. What a fantastic drop. Brad, I believe, did you just play the voice of Missourian, rest in peace, Harley Race?
I sure did.
Kabuki! Hey, it's not Kabuki. And you know what you do want to listen to? Story number 2.
Oh, we've got a story number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
Here's a story that's not on johncombest.com today. It's not particularly sexy. It doesn't have to do with ICE agents or a kamikaze Karen or a Kansas City lesbian in flannel. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with something that will probably make some parents feel a little bit insecure, maybe a little bit of shame. No, Brad, it's not you looking down at the doctor, at your urologist. Here's what it is. Senator Eric Schmitt yesterday at a Senate Commerce Committee hearing was talking about kids and screen time. Now, this story, based on my check, circa 6 a.m., had zero media coverage. So I had to go to a press release. And as you know, Brad, I don't link to press releases on johncombest.com. If you're a spokesperson and you send me a press release that's not a news story, I'm going to make fun of you. Anyway, this was not sent to me by Eric's team, but I found it myself. Senator Schmitt questions witnesses about the dangers posed by excessive screen time, social media algorithms to America's youth. So in short, Senator Schmitt, who was a former attorney general, when he was attorney general, he was looking at some of these big tech companies and some of the things that they were doing in the censorship realm and on a bunch of different realms. But yesterday, more specifically, he was talking about what these companies do to keep kids. And I'm not talking just 14 and 15-year-olds. I'm talking toddlers glued to their parents' tablet or a smartphone or some other babysitting device. There were a bunch of doctors, professors of pediatrics, etc., who came before the Senate committee and testified to the fact that obviously, companies like YouTube, the folks that work at YouTube, the folks that work at TikTok, try to make their technology sticky. They try to make it so that once you're on TikTok, you don't leave. They perfect the algorithm so they give you so much more. Now, you'll also appreciate the fact that there was an AI component to this. And if you scroll through social media, particularly YouTube, you'll see videos for creators that show you how easy it is to make AI videos for kids. Nursery rhymes, low value, low education content that'll just keep kids glued to the smartphone. Now, I don't think anybody's surprised by this. What I do think is curious about this is that it doesn't seem to me that Senator Schmitt is proposing big federal regulations to tell YouTube what they can or can't put on there, how many ads they can or cannot have. But it's certainly shining a light on the fact that we have a ton of parents, as specifically called out by Eric Schmitt in this hearing, that just hand their kid a tablet and say, here you go, kid, I'm exhausted. And they probably say, I'm going to take my prescription meds and down some wine and have some edibles. Knock yourself out with this iPad, kid. Brad, you have long been an advocate for things like TikTok and social media and AI. What do you think of this hubbub?
John, I think this is Newton Minow-ish type stuff. And you probably don't know the reference to Newton Minow, do you?
Absolutely not. Well, he did invent the fig Newton.
No, Newton Minow was the FCC commissioner, and he, in a speech in front of the National Association of Broadcasters, May 9th, 1961, Newton Minow, and matter of fact, this is history in broadcasting, and they probably don't teach this anymore, but Newton Minow gave what has been called the vast wasteland speech. Keep in mind, he's the keynote speaker in front of the National Association of Broadcasters, the television part of the NAB, and he said that television is the vast wasteland because of the fact that, get this, the attention span of Americans due to television is down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
And what is it now? I do remember you bringing him up on the show before, Brad. And what is it today? Approximately half a second?
About 8 seconds. There's nothing going to be done about this. This is like, things just change, okay? This is like, let's go back 100 years, and this is like Eric Schmitt saying, I think this thing with cars is terrible. It's terrible because people won't remember how to use that buggy whip. Yes.
That is absolutely not what he's saying. That's an imperfect analogy. And in fact, Brad, I got to interrupt. Sorry. Eric Schmitt brings up the fact that in the 80s, he grew up in the 80s, and kids sat down at the television, and there were ads for cereal. And kids would go to their parents and say, hey, Mom, I want some Fruity Pebbles. But this is different because the ads are longer, and the ads are specifically tailored to you. Back then, everybody got the dang commercial ad. But today, if your little 6-year-old is somehow into Fortnite, they're going to get nothing but Fortnite commercials. So it's a little bit different.
John, it is and it isn't. It's just like, I know you probably don't. Do you ever watch network TV? Do you ever watch like the 5:30 network newscast on NBC, CBS, ABC? Do you ever watch those?
No, I still have hair that's not gray.
Okay. You see nothing but pharmaceutical ads, Skyrizi and all these other things. And why is that? Because of the fact that the people of my generation are watching those TV ads and they're going, oh, Skyrizi, it's going to make my hairy butt go away. I'm going to go to the doctor and say, hey, doc, can you prescribe me Skyrizi? This is what advertising does. So what's the problem?
Okay, I completely get your point, Brad. Hey, with 0 time left, can we get to story number 1?
You just don't like my objection to that one, do you?
No, I don't, because you're calling Eric Schmitt a Luddite, and you don't have the benefit of actually reading what he said in the committee hearing, and you're putting thoughts into his mouth.
John, I was there at the committee meeting. Matter of fact, I went up to him, and I was embarrassed because I said, Eric, I forgot the name of the subdivision in Bridgeton. He whispered in my ear and he says, Carrollton. I go, that's right, it was Carrollton. Okay.
The number one.
I'll give you another story that's not on johncombest.com today, because not a single member of the St. Louis journalism community has written about it. And that is campaign finance reports. Brad, why do you think no one has written about campaign finance reports?
Interesting. I saw this on Twitter yesterday, or X. I saw that somebody had posted Jake Zimmerman's campaign
It was
report.
Greg Keller posted
Yes,
it. Yeah.
exactly. You saw that as well too then, right?
Yeah. So here's why, to answer my own question, here's why you don't see any media coverage of this. Because campaign finance reports, which is really the second biggest news of the week after the state of the state, were due at 5 p.m. yesterday. Brad, do you think a lot of members of the journalism community work after 5 p.m.?
No, they're already at Starbucks ordering their triple cream latte special or whatever they get, their grande or whatever this stuff is.
They are.
Right.
They're getting a little decaf because it's late in the day.
Right.
Of course no one has covered campaign finance reports because they were due at 5 p.m. yesterday. But this morning I went out, and I just want to focus in the limited time that we have on St. Charles County executive race.
Interesting.
You will find this nowhere in media. I'm sorry, Brad, did you start to say something?
I said interesting. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, so here are the totals yesterday, okay, we will start with the incumbent, Steve Ehlmann. In this past quarter, so think October 1st through December 31st, he raised $232,000.
Wow.
Very impressive. Remember, he was starting with zero.
Yeah, he had no money.
Yeah, exactly. So he spent $7,000. So he has $227,000 cash on hand. Now, Ehlmann, of course, the power of incumbency. You're the incumbent. You call up any contractor that pours a little concrete. They're going to cut a check for you yesterday. You probably don't even have to ask. Bill Eigel. Now, Eigel has two campaign committees. One's Eigel for Missouri. One's Bill Pack. We're just going to focus on Bill Pack for the sake of time. Bill Pack raised $176,000 and spent $214,000. So Bill spent, by my Hazelwood East math here, about, $40,000 more in the quarter than he raised. Okay, and then we'll finish off with Jason Law. In the quarter, Jason raised $22,500, and he spent, it looks like $68,000, and he has $320 cash on hand. By the way, if I got any of these wrong and you're listening and you're involved in these campaigns, please let me know.
Can I make a comment here, John?
Please do, yeah.
Mr. Eigel, Mr. Law, Mr. Ehlmann, our transmitter is not in the best of shape. It's actually showing its age. We put it in 2010. It's 15 years old now. You know, break loose a little bit of that campaign money and send it over here to Westplex Talk, and we'll run some nice ads for all three of you, and we'll have a brand new transmitter. How was that, John? Did I do okay?
Very good, Brad. I love the fact that we could take an important story like the St. Charles County executive race and somehow make it about us. Oh, and by the way, another data point that you'll appreciate here. Bill Eigel's Bill Pack, the one in trouble for the recurring contributions?
Right, from all those old elderly people that don't know they're giving money to Bill Eigel. Isn't that the one?
Yeah, the campaign report, because there's so many contributions, the campaign report is 452 pages.
What? Are you
Yeah,
kidding
exactly.
me?
So I was wrong here when I talked about money on hand for Bill Eigel. It looks like he has 335 cash on hand for his campaign. So I was way wrong. And Brad, I apologize here. So if you add 335 to 124, my Hazelwood East math shows that he has 459,000 cash on hand. Brad, I apologize. I was wrong. I said Jason Law had the most cash on hand, but it turns out that Bill Eigel does. My apologies.
Bill Eigel, not only do we need a new transmitter, we need a new audio processor. That's about $8,000. And we need a couple other things here at the station. We need a new board so I can actually, when we do phone interviews, John can actually talk to these people.
Yeah, I'd rather not. And we're way over time, thanks to me, Brad, and thanks to my fumbling of these numbers. But Bill Eigel spent $200,000 this quarter. Where do you think he spent it?
Didn't spend it with me.
There you go, Brad. Maybe we'll do, since we're way over, maybe we'll make that a cliffhanger.
You know what I have to say about the whole thing, John?
I bet. Does Harley Race have something to say?
Kabuki! Kabuki! Kabuki!
That's what I have to say about it.
There we go, Brad.
Okay, we have to take a break. We really have to do. Because you know why we have to take a break?
Why?
I'm not a baby, I'm a man. I am an anchor man. I'm a man who discovered the wheel and built the Eiffel Tower out of metal and brawn. That's what kind of man I am.
That's what kind of man I am. That's why I have to take a break, okay?